They say history is written by the victors, but what happens when the victors face off against each other? Welcome to part 2 of Deadliest Warriors in History, the series where we don't just ask what if, we answer it definitively. Last time, we threw Spartans, Mongols, Vikings, Romans, and samurai into an all-out historical clash of tactics, strength, and pure ferocity. The Mongols? Yeah, they rode away with the crown, proving that being the original road ragers, armed with bows and a relentless hunger for conquest is just unfair. Missed it? No worries. Do yourself a favor and watch it after this. We broke down strategies, weapons, and battle styles with all the intensity of a History Channel documentary on double espresso. But today, we're raising the stakes. This isn't just a rehash. This is part 2. Bigger, better, deadlier. In the arena this time, Zulu warriors, masters of battlefield aggression and tactics, ninjas, the stealth assassins who redefined the art of ambush, the Knight Templars, armored holy warriors with a penchant for devastating cavalry charges, the Sofa warriors of the Mali Empire, West Africa's brilliant tacticians and empire builders, and the Gladiators, Rome's blood-soaked champions of 101 combat. These aren't random names plucked from history books. These are icons, groups that didn't just survive their eras, but defined them. Each one brings something uniquely terrifying to the battlefield. But before we dive into the carnage, let's set the ground rules. To keep this fair, we are judging each group at their absolute peak. No decline periods, no but they lasted longer debates, and absolutely no sympathy points for empires that stuck around just to become history's cautionary tales. This is about raw skill, strategy, strength, and adaptability, the qualities that win battles. Longevity doesn't decide wars, warriors do. And here's the kicker. By the end of this video, we'll crown one ultimate victor. Not based on fan favorites or hype, but on cold, hard logic. So stick around, because this battle is gonna get epic. Let's go. Let's kick things off with the Zulu warriors, one of history's most disciplined and fearsome fighting forces. Under Shaka Zulu, the Zulu army transformed into a finely tuned war machine. The introduction of the Ikloa, a short stabbing spear, gave them a brutal edge in close combat. Unlike traditional throwing spears, the Ikloa forced warriors to close the distance and fight face to face. Pair that with their massive Ishangu Kohide shields, and you've got a deadly combination of offense and defense. But it wasn't just their weapons that made them dangerous. The Zulu were tactical geniuses. Shaka's famous Horns of the Buffalo formation wasn't just clever, it was devastating. Here's how it worked. 1. The chest, the main force, charged straight at the enemy, engaging them head-on. 2. The horns, flanking units, would encircle the enemy, cutting off escape routes and collapsing their formation. 3. The loins. A reserve force would hang back, ready to reinforce any weak points or finish off retreating enemies. This level of coordination is almost unheard of in pre-colonial Africa. At their peak, the Zulus defeated more technologically advanced forces, including the British at Isand Luana in 1879. Imagine facing an army that doesn't just overpower you, but outthinks you, all while chanting battle cries that make your knees shake. But here's the catch. The Zulus thrived in open terrain. Tight spaces or heavily fortified positions were not their strong suits. And while their discipline was unmatched, they relied on numbers and cohesion. Take that away, and their effectiveness starts to wane. Next, we enter the shadows with the ninjas of feudal Japan. Forget the Hollywood cliches of mystical powers and endless smoke bombs. Real ninjas were practical, tactical, and ruthless. Their arsenal included small, versatile weapons like the ninja to, a camel's brim hat, shuriken, throwing stars, and kusarigama, chain and sickle. But their deadliest weapon wasn't steel. It was their ability to disappear before you even knew they were there. Ninjas specialized in sabotage and guerrilla warfare. Need to poison an enemy leader? They've got you. Need to infiltrate a castle without a sound? They'll be back before sunrise. Their psychological warfare was next level, often making enemies paranoid enough to turn on each other. But let's be real, ninjas weren't built for pitched battles. They thrived in chaos and unpredictability, not a disciplined warfare. Put a ninja on an open battlefield against, say, a Zulu warrior, and it's gonna be a short fight. And not in the ninja's favor. From the shadows, we charge into medieval Europe with the Knight Templars, the original holy warriors. These guys were the definition of discipline and faith-filled resolve. Trained to fight for God and protect pilgrims, the Templars had resources most armies could only dream of: plate armor, chainmail, lances, swords. Their gear was top-notch and their war horses were tanks with hooves. The Templars were masters of the cavalry charge. Imagine a wall of armored knights thundering toward you at full speed. Their formations were precise, their strikes devastating. But their strength was also their weakness. Templars relied heavily on their horses and battlefield cohesion. Knock them off their saddle or disrupt their lines, and they became far less effective. Now we turn to the Sofa warriors of the Mali Empire, one of history's greatest powers in West Africa. The Sofas were more than just warriors. They were statesmen and strategists. They commanded armies that combined archers, infantry, and cavalry into coordinated, deadly formations. Under leaders like Sondiata Keita, the Sofas expanded an empire that dominated West Africa. Their weapons included iron-tipped spears, swords, and bows, many crafted by some of the finest blacksmiths in the region. But their greatest asset was their ability to adapt. Whether defending their homeland or conquering new territory, the Sofas used terrain and strategy to outmaneuver their foes. And finally, we step into the Colosseum with the gladiators of ancient Rome. These fighters were trained for one-on-one combat under intense pressure. Each gladiator had a unique style, from the Retilius with his net and trident to the Murmillo with his heavy shield and short sword. While gladiators were lethal in single combat, their equipment was designed for spectacle, not practicality. Throw them into a large-scale battle, and their lack of armor and teamwork would quickly become a liability. So, after breaking down the strengths, weaknesses, and tactical advantages of these legendary warriors, it's time to crown a winner. But let's not rush. To make this fair, we need to consider multiple scenarios and truly analyze how each group would perform under different conditions. Scenario 1. Open battlefield. In an open field battle, where terrain is flat, visibility is clear, and mobility is key, the Zulu warriors stand out. Their horns of the buffalo strategy is tailor-made for this environment. The main force would clash with the enemy head-on, while the flanking units cut off escape routes and collapsed formations. This level of coordination would overwhelm almost any opponent. The Knight Templars would put up a strong fight here as well. Their cavalry charges were designed to break through enemy lines like a medieval wrecking ball. However, cavalry-dependent forces tend to struggle against formations like the Zulus, where flank attacks and close-range combat reign supreme. The Sofa warriors would also perform admirably. Their strategic acumen and use of combined arms, infantry, archers, and cavalry could hold their own, but the open field setting gives a slight edge to the Zulus due to their superior mobility and aggression. Ninjas and gladiators? Forget it. Ninjas aren't built for frontal assaults, and gladiators lack the coordination to fight in a large-scale battle. They'd be picked off before they could even close the gap. Scenario 2. Urban combat or tight terrain. Now, let's flip the script. Imagine a dense forest, narrow streets, or even the chaotic corridors of a fortress. Here, the ninjas come out of the shadows, literally, in close quarters. Their stealth and ability to ambush would be devastating. Ninjas weren't just trained to fight, they were trained to end fights before they began. Poison traps, silent kills, and hit-and-run tactics would create paranoia and confusion among their enemies. A Zulu or Templar soldier wouldn't even know where the attack came from. The Zulu warriors, on the other hand, would find themselves at a disadvantage. Their strength lies in numbers and coordination, which are hard to maintain in tight spaces. The Knight Templars would also struggle, as their heavy armor and reliance on cavalry are impractical in urban environments. Sofa warriors could adapt better here due to their tactical flexibility, but even they would be hard-pressed to match the sheer unpredictability of the ninjas. As for the gladiators, they might find some success in one-on-one skirmishes, but against a coordinated ambush, they'd be in trouble. Scenario 3. Prolonged campaigns or strategic warfare. When it comes to long-term strategy, logistics, and adaptability, the Sofa warriors rise to the top. The Sofas were more than just soldiers, they were strategists capable of leading entire armies across vast territories. Their use of combined arms, archers, infantry, and cavalry allowed them to adapt to different battlefield conditions. Plus, their ability to govern and maintain morale over prolonged campaigns ensured they could outlast less organized forces. The Zulu warriors, while formidable, relied heavily on aggression and shock tactics. In a drawn-out campaign, they might struggle to maintain supply lines or adapt to changing strategies. Similarly, the Knight Templars were excellent on the battlefield, but relied on a rigid structure. Once their cohesion was disrupted, they could falter. As for the ninjas and gladiators, they're simply not built for large-scale prolonged warfare. Ninjas excel in short-term sabotage, while gladiators are individual combatants. Neither could sustain an extended campaign against a disciplined army. Scenario 4. One-on-one combat. In a duel, the gladiators take center stage. These fighters were bred and trained for one-on-one combat. Facing them would be like stepping into the UFC octagon with a professional fighter, except they're armed with swords, nets, or tridents. Their familiarity with high-pressure, unpredictable matchups makes them deadly in single combat. The Knight Templars and Zulu warriors might hold their own to some degree, but they're trained for group combat, not duels. A lone Zulu warrior, for example, would find it hard to match the technical precision of a gladiator. Ninjas could potentially win here, but their advantage relies on stealth and surprise. In a fair head-on fight, they lack the brute strength or endurance to match a gladiator. And the Sofa warriors, while skilled leaders and tacticians, aren't known for their prowess in one-on-one duels. So, after considering all scenarios, who deserves the title of deadliest warrior? 1. In open field combat, the Zulu warriors dominate with their superior tactics and ferocity. 2. In tight spaces or urban environments, the ninjas are virtually untouchable with their stealth and ambush tactics. 3. In prolonged campaigns, the Sofa warriors prove to be the most adaptable and strategic. And 4. In one-on-one combat, the gladiators are unmatched in technical skill and resilience. But if we're choosing the ultimate winner, the warrior who's most versatile across all scenarios, the title goes to the Zulu warriors. Why? Because their combination of raw power, tactical ingenuity, and battlefield dominance gives them the best chance to adapt and overcome in most conditions. The ninjas may disappear into the shadows, and the Sofas may outlast others in a prolonged campaign, but in a straight-up fight, the Zulus bring the most to the table. Now, before you start furiously typing in the comments, remember, this isn't just about who's cooler or your favorite. It's about cold, hard logic. But hey, if you think we got it wrong, tell us why. Maybe your argument will help shape part 3.